Hello and welcome to GED Live at PALS. Today we're going to talk about top tips for the GED Social Studies test. The first list is going to be about being prepared for the test. So tip number 1 is know the format. The Social Studies component has 35 questions and you're allocated about 70 minutes. That gives you roughly 2 minutes per question, but that's not only for the question, you also have to read and analyze the passages or the graphics. There are different types of questions. You can find examples of these online either through practice tests or on the GED official site. There is a lot of information and examples you can find. There are multiple choice questions, fill in the blank, drag and drop down, and hotspot questions where you're asked to move boxes around. Be familiar and be comfortable with all of the question types to eliminate surprises. Number 2, be familiar with the content. There are 3 distinct content areas for the social studies component. Civics, which would be studying about the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, how government functions and how bills are passed. U.S. history, and economics. Make sure that you get yourself a GED aligned text and go through all of these content areas quite carefully. And number 3 is practice reading and interpreting the graphics. There are going to be graphs, maps, diagrams, tables, and even political cartoons and propaganda posters, which are quite hard to analyze if you don't have any experience. Go ahead and use any source of graphics you can find online. Look at how they are labeled. Try to draw conclusions about the information in them and practice. You want to be able to use these graphics quickly. Here are some examples. Number 4 is take practice tests. There are a lot of practice tests on the internet. You can find them and practice at your own leisure, at a slow pace. You can build up your speed. Take as many as you can and make sure that you can reduce the stress level from the format. And number 5 is build confidence. Program yourself for success and be decisive. And by this I mean prepare carefully so that you can eliminate that stress we talked about. Program yourself by telling yourself, writing down, empowering phrases that you will pass the test. Believe you will pass the test. And when you sit down, be decisive. Make sure that no matter how confident you are, you're ready to take action and go for it. Our next set of tips is about sitting down and taking that test. So number 1, I suggest that you read the questions first. Read before you read a passage, read before you analyze a graphic. This way you'll know what you're looking for. You may not need to read very carefully for these long passages. You may be able to just simply look for the information you're trying to get to answer that question correctly. Number 2, scan for synonyms, the same words or related terms. As you can see here in the passage, I've underlined jobs. And in question number 10, they state they were able to find jobs there. This is an indicator that you can find the answer quickly by scanning for those terms and checking to see if it makes sense. Number 3, use the process of elimination. By looking through the questions, we can find questions that are unrelated or don't correlate to the graphics or the passage. For example, this pie graph does not include information about providing better education. It's just telling us percentages of education. And it doesn't tell us which ones children prefer at all. So we can eliminate those and move on. Now we're down to a 50-50 chance, or we can make a more informed guess. Number 4, rule out answers that are unsupported, unrelated, or contradict the passages or graphics. When you read the questions first, see if they are just totally unrelated or if they have the opposite meaning and contradict it. This will help us with the process of elimination or making a carefully selected correct answer. Number 5, develop a solid foundation in civics. What I mean by this is most of the tests, and I've looked through a ton of practice tests, are going to have the recurring theme of U.S. civics, the Constitution, how government operates, how bills are passed, separation of powers, checks and balances. This is likely to show up on the test, so prepare yourself by really understanding those concepts. You don't have to memorize every term. I'm not asking you to memorize the 5 freedoms or what each amendment to the Constitution guarantees or how Article 7 does what. Just to understand the functions and the process. 6. Don't waste too much time memorizing facts. Although it's great if you have factual-based knowledge, you may be able to answer questions quicker or more accurately. The test is testing your skills to analyze, infer, draw conclusions, and find the information within the passages and graphics. Number 7, to infer meaning, read each term in the sentence. What I mean by this is you could have a sentence where you have to understand the meaning of a word and replace it with a synonym. You have 4 words. Read each of those words in the synonym in the sentence one by one. Which one sounds the best? If you're a native speaker, or if you're not a native speaker, maybe it just makes sense and sounds like it fits. Which meaning is closest to the one you're replacing? Number 8, maintain your composure. You may come to some totally unexperienced topics. Maybe you're not familiar at all. You missed that chapter in the book, or you just never saw it. It's a new topic that they're bringing up to test your composure. Stay calm. Use those skills of process of elimination, scanning for related terms, removing questions with contradictory or unrelated ideas, and maintain your speed. 9. Mark questions for review. If you come to a question and you're getting bogged down and you start to feel your composure eroding, just mark it for review. It's better to possibly miss that question or have to guess at the end than to feel rushed for the remaining 10 questions or 15 questions and make more mistakes. Number 10 is manage your time. And what I mean by manage your time is not to stare at the clock nervously looking at every question and make sure that you have only used 2 minutes. What I mean is to, A, allot 5 minutes at the end. Keep those 5 minutes for reviewing the questions that were overly challenging and you've marked for review. And 2, maintain some consistent pace. Don't get bogged down. Don't let yourself rush through things. Keep a nice, decisive, composed pace. Well, that's it. I hope this video helps you out in getting prepared. Best of luck. And remember, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that applies to passing the GED exam as well.